Druids believed that we're descended from Hercules. So, anyway, language is part of it. Thank you. Right, okay, let's move on and look at, since we talked about the gods. Before we do, I want to just share one thing I forgot to mention. I've been studying the works of King Alfred the Great, who was a Christian monarch in Britain, the only monarch we have who was called Great. And he himself was a scholar. He learned Latin, and he translated some key works into Anglo-Saxon because he decided that as a king he had a moral duty to elevate the learning of his subjects. And he translated the works of Boethius, his great work, Consolation of Philosophy. And I just wanted to read one passage. This is something that Alfred himself, he didn't do a direct translation, he added bits. You know, he thought, well, I'll augment that bit and add this bit. So this is one bit he added. And in the Consolation of Philosophy, this Roman philosopher Boethius was imprisoned on false charges, and he was stuck in a dungeon for a few years and then executed. And during that time, he wrote this book, Consolation of Philosophy, in which the plot line is he's visited by Holy Wisdom, Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, who visits him in his cell to console him, saying, look, I know, you were arrested, you're going to be killed, but don't worry, because it's all part of the plan. And they have a dialogue. And Boethius says, what kind of a god would allow that to happen? Why is this tyrant on the throne? Why haven't you got some proper angels dealing with those crazy people? Etc., etc. Anyway, Wisdom speaks this in Alfred's translation, and this is a modern English version of it. Wisdom says, then I say that true friends are the most precious of all this world's blessings. They are not even to be reckoned as worldly goods, but as divine, since worthless fate does not bring them forth, but rather God, who created them naturally as kinsmen. For in this world a man desires everything else because he may thereby acquire either power or worldly pleasure, except a faithful friend. One loves a friend sometimes out of affection, sometimes out of trust, even though no other return is expected from him. Nature joins and cements friends together with an inseparable love. But in this world's fortunes and its present wealth, one makes enemies more often than friends. That's Alfred, who was a powerful king and a warrior, as well as a scholar, talking about friendship. And I think it's interesting because the word of philosopher means a friend of wisdom, or a lover of wisdom. Anyway, I'll be reading other excerpts from it. If we could rediscover the art of friendship as a planet, the conflicts would go. Okay, let's do our tarot of the gods to finish and see what wisdom they can shine upon us. Let's yes, if I hold them out and you choose. Just one.
Are there one, two? There are two.
Just give me one. I will take both. Yes.
Okay, there you go. Got one each.
Yeah, friends got.
Okay, Jan, what have you got?
Vishnu.
Ah,
Number 3.
number 3, that's a very important deity. The maintainer of the world, part of the trinity of Hindu gods, and Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the maintainer, sustainer of the world.
And Shiva is my favorite. Destroy all. Connect?
Well, transform them, yeah. So, so Vishnu has various incarnations called avatars in history. And one of them, most importantly, was Krishna, who seems to have been a historical character in ancient India, and at a time when there were wars going on and battles, and he would advise. He was like a druid. He didn't fight, but he would give advice to the one party, in fact to both parties, but he sided on the side of justice. And Vishnu is still to this day very popular in India. If you go to temples and so on, there are images and pictures of Vishnu, and he had these different incarnations, and we're waiting for the last avatar of Vishnu, the next one, who's going to be called Kalki. And Kalki will sort everything out, according to the Vaishnavas. I wish he'd hurry up, because we need Kalki back. And he will help sort things out in a peace-loving way. And I actually wrote a film script for Kalki coming back as a sort of, I thought we could do it as a film, you know. So just to say, which I'd love to be co-produced by Hollywood and Bollywood. So it would have Indian actors and dancers as well as American film stars. Because the plot line, I've written the whole thing out. You know, it would be great. So there we are. They go to the hero and heroine go to Mount Kailash, which is where the gods live in Hinduism, and they see a council of the gods discussing and plotting how can we save the world, because things have gone to the dogs. Nobody listens to us anymore. And they get Thor on the line through their, you know, special communication systems. They get the gods of every different culture, and they come up with a plot line. Instead of just having Kalki come back, they're going to have all the incarnations and avatars come back at once. Anyway, it's a great movie. I can't wait to produce it. And yes, Vishnu. We love Vishnu. Thank you. And my take on this is that Hinduism isn't just for the Hindus. Vishnu isn't just going to save the Hindus. Vishnu's there for everybody. And Allah and Yahweh and Odin, they're all included in, you know, in the plot line. They're manifestations or avatars of the divine too. So it's not us against them, it's us with the other, working together for co-salvation. Anyway, okay, and now we've got Ganesh turned up. Yes. Tell me what you know about Ganesh. He's the
I don't have
eight
a
of
clue.
fire.
I don't have a clue.
No, you've not.
I could not even say it's from Middle East or I guess, but I'm not sure.
Ganesh must be Indian, won't it?
India?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
so
Yeah, I
don't have a clue.
Okay. I have a statue of Ganesh in my car because he's the remover of obstacles, Ganesh. He's regarded by pious Hindus and Indians and world travellers like me as the elephant god. And he removes obstacles because the elephant does that. You know, the elephant was very important to clear the roads and keep everything moving in ancient India before the tractors came along. And he represents the eight of fire, very passionate. He's the son of Shiva, who is the transformer god. I don't call him the destroyer because nothing can ever really be destroyed. He transforms things.
Thank you.
But he's also a highly intelligent deity. Elephants are very, very intelligent. They can hear sounds at a huge distance. They can hear vibrations in the surface of the earth. And we know that you know, for instance, one captive female Asian elephant learned to distinguish between different things. They were like being trained. And they have great concern for their own families. When somebody dies, they stay around the body. They're seen to mourn and show grief and so on. So the story of how Ganesh came to be is interesting. He was the son of Shiva, and Shiva had to go away from his marital home in the Himalayas, and he was called away on duty for a few months. And he left his son Ganesh to guard for the mother, his mother Parvati, who was Shiva's wife. And he, you know, was proud to be the doorman, as it were, and defend his mother against any possible attack. After a few months, Shiva came back, really excited and happy to see his wife. Hadn't seen her for a long time. He loved her desperately. And he'd forgotten that he'd left his son as the guardian of the gate. And the son, who'd grown a bit and changed his hairstyle or something, said, "No, you can't go in." And Shiva said, "What the hell are you talking about?" You know, and he chopped his head off with a sort of blast of fiery rays in anger, right? Like, how dare this chap tell me I can't go to see my wife? I'm God, I'm Shiva, right? Anyway, the wife came out crying, Parvati, and said, "Oh no, you've just killed our son." And then he realised what he'd done, because he was so excited to see the wife that he didn't think straight. So, in a fit of remorse, he stormed off to the forest and found an elephant's head, which he brought back, and he put it on the boy's torso, and because he's a god, it all worked. So Ganesh has an elephant's head and a human male body. And he's loved very much in temples throughout India. He has thousands of temples. He's an icon that appears in Indian art everywhere. And he also played a role in writing of some of the sacred scriptures of India, because he had a brilliant memory, and he acted as a scribe to Vyasa in writing the sacred scriptures. So he's an intelligent deity as well. And Ganesh also grew up, and he had 2 wives to himself, which are given in the card. We have 2 wives flanking him on his throne. And they've got wonderful names, because one is called Buddhi, which means intelligence, and the other is called Siddhi, which means divine supernatural powers. So who wouldn't want 2 wives, one of which is supreme intelligence, and the other can do supernatural powers, like instant cooking, you know, banquet preparations, whatever. So he's a very lucky god, I think. And he represents, happiness, well-being and safety. And he's the obstacle remover. So I think we need Ganesh to come and sort out the Gaza situation. There's a lot of obstacles which are intellectual, moral and physical. The whole thing needs being rebuilt. And I, as the Commonwealth Interfaith Network guy, I think that the whole Commonwealth of 53 nations could help invite an independent Palestine to join the Commonwealth. I don't think Israel has the right to block that. They've got to stop, just back off and stop misbehaving as a nation. And then we could refund the rebuilding of Gaza. We're talking Canada, Australia, New Zealand, India, Pakistan, could all give generously to help these poor Palestinians, on condition that they sign a total non-violence treaty with Israel. Hamas just has to go the path of non-violence to qualify for the aid and support, and that's the only way, I think, to solve this. So I'd like to see that Ganesh energy come and solve these problems. It's just obvious that it was the violence of Hamas that triggered this nonsense. Well, if they go the path of non-violence, then Israel has, you know, also to back off.
This is a whole catch-22 situation for
Yes.
decennias and millennia.
Well, but as Gandhi pointed out, the only way to cut through the catch-22 situation of war and violence is to adopt non-violence,
Yeah.
which goes back to Mahavira's point of intellectual non-violence. You know, I don't know enough to know whether I should kill you in the name of my Islam, and you know, I don't know enough to know whether I should kill you in the name of my Judaism.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I don't know what Hamas is trying to recreate. Is it the David situation, David and Goliath?
I don't think they thought it through. I think they've been so traumatized as a people. They've been living in this like ghettoized nightmare situation
Little
that
corner of Israel, yeah.
all they thought about was revenge, and I think there's a lot of pride in it. The male hero thing, the warrior, appeals to, you know, to be seen to be doing something. There's all that stuff. It's all coming from ego, and not just male ego. The women of the Palestinian community are pretty fierce too, and will shame the boys if they don't go and sign up and join Hamas. Well, all that's got to stop. And that's why I did my commentary on the Quran. I've tried to explain that wasn't what Muhammad was trying to channel. If you actually read the Quran, it's an amazing peace text.
Most Muslims do believe the same as you say.
Yeah.
It's abuse of the Quran. It's abuse of the faith to go on and murder people. It's just a handful.
It is, yeah, and it's totally against
extremists.
Islam. Yeah, absolutely. You're not allowed to kill women or children or non-combatants, and that's what they did on that fatal day in October the 7th, which is totally un-Islamic. So, anyway, that's I think why Ganesh has come into our cards. We need that level of heroic energy. And if you lose your head in attempting that, don't worry, because Shiva will give you another one.
There's always another fan.
There's always another head coming around, yeah. And in order to bring about peace and healing, you know, this is the Kalki moment for humanity. We do need a genuine meeting at the highest possible level between Russia and Ukraine, America, Europe, Israel, Palestine, the Middle East. We all need to surrender our ego. And there's collective ego as well as individual ego. You know, my nation, Britain. Well, no, the solution is we'll have the British Empire back. Then everything will be fine. No, it's not going to happen.
No.
We have to surrender our ego collectively and reinvent the actual divine.
Push the reset button.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's what these cards, to me, represent anyway. They're auspicious, but do indicate some work to be done. You know, this isn't the time for just lying around and partying. That comes later, once we get through this. Okay. Any final questions? Comments? Okay, I'm going to finish with one last quote from King Alfred, because it's so interesting. I've been really enjoying this. In his so he had to be a warrior, and he wanted to spend his whole time in scholarship. He never wanted to become a king. He went to Rome, he was blessed by the Pope. He was destined for the church, but then his elder brothers all were killed in warfare against the Vikings, and he eventually became king. And he had to lead the army of resistance of the Anglo-Saxons against them, who were Christian. And because he read Latin and had studied ancient historians, he knew how military tactics worked. So he was able to retool the Anglo-Saxon army to defend against the Vikings. And the Life of Alfred by Asser tells all the details. It's a very important text that I've just finished. And But there's one lovely short, I'll read out, paragraph 43. Also in the same year, the Saxons made peace with the Vikings on condition that they would leave them. And this the Vikings did.
Wise people.
There was a peace, and you know, let's pray that we can get that same peace in Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, Russia, and let's see if that peace can descend for humanity, because it's very much needed. Okay, I won't carry on. Thank you.
Go there.
She.